So, let's talk about Samuel Beckett's Endgame. I know, it can feel a little intimidating, right? But what if we stop thinking of it as this impossible puzzle? Instead, let's look at it for what it is, a raw, unfiltered peek into what happens when the game is almost over. It's really this powerful, kind of gut-wrenching exploration of what it means to be human when you're right at the very, very end.
All right, so here's how we're going to tackle this. We're going to break the play down into 5 main sections. Think of it as our roadmap for getting through this really strange, claustrophobic, and surprisingly funny world Beckett has created. First up, we've got to get a handle on the world of this play. And believe me, in Endgame, the setting isn't just some passive backdrop. No way. It's practically a character itself.
You know, Beckett's opening stage directions are just so precise, so potent. He just says, bare interior, gray light. And bam, instantly, you know you're not just in some room. It feels more like a shelter, or maybe even the inside of a skull. It's this tight, colorless space that feels totally sealed off from whatever's left of the outside world.
So the first character we meet is Clov, and we don't meet him through some big, dramatic speech. Nope, we meet him through this bizarre, really repetitive routine. He moves the ladder, he looks out, he has this tiny little laugh. This isn't just random action, it's a ritual. And it's a ritual that feels completely and totally pointless, which, believe me, sets the tone for pretty much everything that's about to happen.
And then Clov speaks his very first line, and wow, it is basically the theme of the entire play, all wrapped up in one sentence. He says it's finished, but then nearly finished. This sets up this desperate, obsessive desire for an ending that just won't arrive. It's that tiny space between finished and nearly finished. That's the agonizing place where these characters have to live. Okay, let's get into the heart of the play now. We're talking about the central relationship that really powers this whole thing, the twisted dynamic between Hamm, the blind, immobile master, and Clov, his long-suffering but always there servant.
So you've got Hamm. He's basically a tyrant ruling from his armchair throne. He can't see, he can't stand up, so all he has left is his voice and the power he holds over Clov. And he uses it constantly, just poking and prodding at their relationship, always testing how far he can push Clov with questions just like this.
And what does Clov do? He doesn't really answer. He just holds up a mirror and throws the exact same kind of question right back at Hamm. And that exchange, it just reveals the absolute core of their relationship. This isn't about loyalty or love or anything like that. It's about this strange, miserable, mutual necessity. Clov being his servant is just as much of a prison as Hamm being stuck in that chair.
And here it is, their mutual trap, laid out perfectly. For Hamm, it's there's no one else. For Clov, it's there's nowhere else. I mean, think about that. That's a huge existential idea right there. What defines them isn't freedom or choice, it's the total, complete absence of any other options. They are literally the last 2 pieces on the chessboard, locked together because the rest of the board is just empty.
It gets even crazier when you look at their physical problems. They're just so perfectly, horribly complementary. Hamm can't stand up, Clov can't sit down. It's like together they form one complete, totally dysfunctional person. Hamm is the brain, stuck in the chair, and Clov is the body, always moving. And neither one of them can possibly function without the other. It's a perfect symbiosis of misery.
All right, so there are 2 other characters we need to meet, Hamm's parents, Nag and Nell. And get this, they literally live in trash cans. Yep, ash bins. They are the living embodiment of the past, and more than that, they represent the decay of memory itself. And you'll hear this one phrase pop up again and again. Yesterday. But listen to how it's said. It's not some happy, fond memory. It's a lament. It's a sigh for a time that's just slipping through their fingers, a past that's all broken and fragmented. It's become so unreliable that it can't even give them comfort anymore. You see them try. You really do. Nag and Nell, they try to pull up these old happy memories, crashing their bike, getting engaged, telling an old joke. But it's all fuzzy. The details are wrong, they start arguing about what actually happened, and each time they try to laugh about it, the laugh is just a little bit weaker, a little more forced. It's like the past itself is losing its power to mean anything. And then Nell drops this absolutely incredible insight. She basically says that even their own unhappiness isn't interesting anymore. It's like a joke they've heard way too many times. It's just lost its punchline. Think about that. Their misery isn't even tragic anymore. It's just boring. That's such a profound idea, right? That in a world with no meaning, even suffering becomes just another dull routine.
So, all of this leads us right to the play's central paradox. You have these characters who are absolutely obsessed with things ending, but at the same time, they are completely trapped in this meaningless, endless loop.
I mean, their daily routine is a complete farce. Hamm wants to get up, and then 5 minutes later he wants to go back to bed. Time has completely lost its meaning. When someone asks Clov what time it is, his answer is always the same as usual. Their whole life is just this loop, a routine that has no purpose except to kill time while they wait for an end that refuses to show up.
And there's no better picture of this cycle than one of the play's most famous bits. It's when Hamm repeatedly forces Clov to climb that ladder, take the telescope, and look out the window to survey their dead world. It's a ritual, but it's a ritual of confirming just how hopeless everything is.
And Clov's report from that window? It's chilling. And it's simple. There's nothing out there. No life, no ships on the horizon, absolutely no hope. It's just emptiness. 0, 0, and 0. Then Hamm pushes him. He wants a one-word summary for what the world is like out there. And Clov gives him this one. Brutal, perfect word. The world isn't just dead. It's a corpse. The game is already over out there. They're just the last survivors, holed up in this little shelter. Which brings us to what might be the play's deepest, most human question of all. With all of this suffering, all this pointless repetition, all this waiting, is there any point to any of it?
And you see Hamm in this really rare moment of what feels like genuine vulnerability. He kind of stammers it out, the big question. He's wondering, could all of this, their weird little routine, their endurance, could it be starting to mean something? And that's it, right? That's the human condition in a nutshell. We're always looking for a pattern, for some kind of purpose, even when everything around us is screaming that there isn't one.
But just as fast as that little flicker of hope appears, Clov just crushes it. He laughs. The very idea that he and Hamm could mean something, to Clov that is the funniest, most absurd thing he's heard all day. He calls it a good one. It's a total joke to him.
So we get to the final moments of the play. Hamm is alone, or seems to be. Clov is standing by the door, all dressed like he's about to leave. But he's not moving. He's just standing there. And Hamm says this final line. Maybe he's saying it to Clov, maybe to himself. We don't know. But the key is that the action of leaving is promised. But what we actually see is nothing, just stasis. He remains.
And that's how it ends. The play doesn't really conclude, it just stops. Hamm covers his face, sits there completely motionless. There's no big resolution, no dramatic exit. And that's what leaves us with this really haunting final thought. What if the endgame isn't about winning or losing? It isn't checkmate. What if it's just the moment when everything finally stops? All the movement, all the words, and maybe all the hope.